Welcome to my podcast, Spiritual Quest, with me, your host, Vibeke Garnos, always guided by Spirit. I am very excited to share my gift with you and empower you to embrace your gift. So if you define yourself as a spiritual human being, then you've come to the right place. So prepare yourself now for an amazing journey where your soul will lead the way. I invite you now to open your heart, ignite your passion in life, and start living with grace and gratitude by allowing your soul to speak. Mother Earth is a masterpiece, and her beauty is divine. These words were spoken by the high-frequency energy of Chief of the Holy Land. This spirit came to me when I was in Sedona, Arizona, back in 2016. Connecting with the spirit, I remember walking on one of the very popular places in Sedona, and it's a famous vortex which has a great power for manifestations. And of course, people flock to this beautiful vortex where the power you actually feel in the physical by the hairs on your arms just standing right up. And the more sensitive you are, the more in tune, the more you can experience when you're in the center of this beautiful vortex. Anyway, a lot of people go here to manifest great things in life. We were there to ask how we could support through our soul purpose and to see if uniting with Mother Earth and the universe through this powerful vortex would actually assist us and unify us and make the power of our intentions and manifestation strengthen and bring what I would say peace and harmony to Mother Earth, humanity, and the universe. We were there, and as I walked down the mountain, some people in my group actually picked up some rocks from the mountain. And I remember Spirit, Chief of the Holy Land, telling me, stop, turn around. And I turned around and I looked up and I saw that some people were carrying these rocks. Being a channel, having that opportunity for Spirit to speak, I yelled out as loud as I could, stop! Place those rocks back where they belong, exactly where they were placed, not somewhere else, specifically where you found them. I didn't know why, but as Chief of the Holy Land came to me and said, you humans don't understand that the mountains are carrying energy cords. They're bringing healing to Earth Spirit, to the earth, to nature. Not only do you walk, not with peaceful footsteps when you walk on the mountain, which is sacred, which is the purification of water. This is sacred land. It has the purpose, and that purpose is greater than you as a human. Your race would not exist if you would take advantage, collect everything that you as humans find beautiful and that you want to possess for your own well-being. You have to lift your awareness and understand that walking with peaceful footsteps is being conscious of your choices and intentions. Why do you seek? You're responsible for your actions, and you're responsible for something greater. You decide if we live in unity, if Mother Earth once again can flourish. This is Mother Earth's emotional state. And each and every time humans collect for their personal benefit, you wound your mother. This is sacred land. So, I think this is very, very powerful. And of course, not remembering everything in details, I can still resonate with the energy of those words. So I actually was lucky enough to be able to go on a podcast and speak about the rocks and what Chief of the Holy Land told me. I do not believe in coincidences. This happened the very same day I told them about what Chief of the Holy Land had come to me and to express his concern. And she could tell me, this wonderful lady of the Center of the New Age, she told me that she actually got rocks sent back to her center with a note asking them to please placed the rocks back where they took them because they brought bad luck. I think karma plays a big part. We should know better, and especially if you find yourself to be enlightened, we should know better. So I think this is a powerful story just to express how important it is for us when we walk in nature, anywhere. Be present. Walk with peaceful footsteps, which means you tune in by being present and you make sure that you are anchored within your heart vibration so that you can listen and communicate within that vibration and frequency to bring healing when you walk. Mother Earth gives our human self nourishment. She protects us. She gives us energy. She replenishes our bodies. And to give back is being respectful for your mother and what she brings to your life. Look around, see the beauty that surrounds us. All the beautiful creatures that Mother Earth, which actually includes you, have created. We need to understand that everything that we do, we are communicating through that vibration and frequency which we reside within. So I ask you, as a fellow man, fellow soul, and spirit, to be present in your life and be present in all that you do as a human. Make sure that you have a clear intention for why you choose to do what you do. And ask yourself, how can I walk with peaceful footsteps? And allow your soul to answer you. When you do that, your experience with nature and your Mother Earth, it will bring you and lift you to new heights. You will experience things you have never, ever experienced before. And you will actually see the beauty of living in unity with all life. 2019, Spirit once again sent me on a mission to Sedona. And this time, I met up with a kindred spirit. This person is living in tune with Mother Earth and all her creatures. And he spends all his days giving back to Mother Earth and to enlightening humanity. This person is a true warrior of love for a life. So please listen in as I sit down with a beautiful soul, spirit, and human, Rahelio.
As a teenager, I had a mystical experience. It's kind of like on a psychedelic journey. And I had a visitation by a being of light, of love, and he appeared to me as a son. And I was like 16 years old then. And he told me many wondrous things. And I don't know what he said because it went over my head, but I was radiating his pure bliss. And it was the most incredible encounter. My ancestry come out of Mexico. I grew up in the United States in the north, so I'm not really that connected to Mexico. But the Mexican name is Rahelio. And the English name is Roger. And I didn't like either of those names. So I took the Ra from Roger and the Helio from Rahelio and put Rahelio.
And then you loved it.
Yes, and Ra is the sun god, and Helio is the sun's radiance. So I put my name together like that many, many years ago. The numerology of it made my name a number 11. And my birth path date is totals to be 11, so I'm on 1111.
Wow.
So I thought that was really great.
Spiritual.
That was a long time ago. That was 40 years ago I changed my name, 43 years ago. So I was just a little baby then, maybe.
May I ask how old you are? Or is I know age is just a number.
I always say I've been around a while. I'm ageless, but I'm turning 63 in May.
So how did you end up here in Sedona?
That's a good question. I had been living on Maui, Hawaii, and my girlfriend at the time was very restless to get off the island and travel. So we traveled and came over and visited California, and we visited Phoenix, and we passed through Sedona, and thinking about as a possibility of a place to be. And at that time in 1981, Sedona was very, there was not a lot happening here then. And I didn't know anybody. And coming through in the hot summer, it was very much too dry and hot and nothing to do here for me. I didn't know anybody. So I said, I want to go back to Hawaii, back to Maui, and live back at the beach and back, on the mountains there. And then later, I had a UFO encounter on Maui 3 years later. And I had a close encounter with a UFO that came over, hovered over my head, and a high-pitched tune, woo, and it was just shimmering over me. And then my friend came out of the house and, Rahelio, it's a UFO. And my mind's like, it's not a plane, it's not a helicopter, UFO. And then it just turned and disappeared. And a week later, in my bed, my head was ringing a high-pitched E. 3 nights in a row, it was ringing E. On the third night, my medulla, the back of my head began to hum, and my crown chakra turned open, and a vibration of energy came down into my head. A wave of energy. It was pure bliss, and these women began to speak to me, and they said that they were balancing my energy for me just to relax and go with it. So they're putting that into my body, and
May I ask which color that energy was? Or was it?
I didn't see any color. It just felt it coming down. It was coming down, but because it was such a beautiful, powerful experience, and hearing them speak to me, it startled me. Like, what is going on? Who's putting this into my body? And in that startlement, I lost the download. I didn't get the full download, so I've always had second thoughts about that. But I came to Sedona in 1987. I left Maui, and it was summer solstice I got here. And the day I arrived, I went into meditation, and in my meditation, this flame began to tap me on the forehead. Tap, 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 tap. About 20 seconds. And it penetrated into my forehead, into the center of my brain, and the women began to speak to me telepathically. And they were telling me, because I was 30 years old when I left Hawaii, 31 years old when I came here. Well, how am I going to make a living? Where do I belong? What am I to do? I had a very mystical life leading up to that time. And how do I make a living in a spiritual capacity? I didn't know how to do that. And when I got here, they said to me in my mind, this is where you've come to do your work. You're to be a spiritual guide. There'll be thousands and thousands of people coming looking for answers. So you're to answer their questions and speak of love and inspiration. They said there's going to be a great awakening coming, and it's a part of the ancient prophecies from around the world. The old ancient cultures speak of this time, and we're going to move into the next, they called it the higher domain, move to the next level up. After this awakening takes place, they said that this earth is going to go through a cataclysm and reset itself for whatever comes next here. But we'll have moved on, and it'll all be good. They told me many things about the higher dimensional reality. And I said to them, I already know that. Why are you telling me that? And they'd tell me some more, and I'd say, I already know that. They're telling me some more, and I was going to say that again. I already know that, and I felt like I was being rude. Like I was being like Mr. Know-it-all, I felt kind of bad. And I kind of like said, I don't know that, I'm sorry, And they wished me well, and they said goodbye. And after they said goodbye, the part that I said I know so well, that I knew so well, I could remember any of that. But the first part, I remember crystal clear. And so the other part has been in the back of my mind, it kind of ekes into my consciousness. And they did tell me they were going to take me into a higher domain. And several years later, I found myself sitting on the mountain way back in the back canyons of Sedona, a place called Secret Canyon. And I was sitting there, and I was in a heightened state of consciousness. It was like my mind was fully awake. To be as a human being today and perceive like this, but at that time, my mind was fully awake. So, we see dimly compared to what we're going to be, how we're going to perceive what it's going to be like. I think, in the fifth dimensional. And I met a woman there, and she was a blonde woman. Very powerful. Inner silence was profound. There was no telepathy, it was just direct knowing. And I followed her into the mountain, and as she walked into the mountain, it opened up seamlessly, and I perceived it. It was a hologram. It was like a mirage. The wall of the mountain. As we went in, the doorway was a living consciousness, a projection. It was like a big mothership, huge ship. That whole giant mountain was a ship inside there. Must be like fifth dimensional. There's some other things happened that was very intriguing, but it all turned into that she's showing me into the mountain. And to this day, I have not gone to that place. But I'm just kind of waiting to when I feel like I'm supposed to go there. A lot of people are going and looking for the truth, going to power places, and I've traveled to some various places, but when I'm here, I feel like I'm plugged in to where I'm supposed to be. So I don't travel out so much to find truth it all just comes to me. And the different elders or wisdom teachers or light workers or star peoples or whoever seems to find me here. So I just maintain my reality, hold the light, maintain my ceremonies, work with the people, and grow as a human being, and just integrate myself as a human being so I can be whole. I didn't grow up with my traditional Native background. My ancestry is Native American, but due to the conquest and colonialization, etc., a lot of that was lost, and some of it remained, but my grandfather had some of that, but I didn't know him very well. I was very little when he passed. But when I was in the Bay Area, I lived in California, in Marin County, and I met a very remarkable Native American teacher there, and they were cutting back funding for the social programs in California, cutting back the budget, and he was losing his job because he was a new teacher. The students so loved him that they were rallying around him, and I happened to just be visiting California and happened to go visit his class, and I came back one day to see what was going on, and I was late. I was visiting the campus, and I came into his classroom, and it had been opened up to expand like 3 classrooms, maybe 100 people in there. TV news cameras are in there, and he was at the front, and they had the microphones on. They were making this a big news story because there was so much love for him. His name was Buffalo Boy Canoe. He was a Lakota Sioux. And I remember I came thinking I need to be somewhere. Oh, I should go to his class. And I went over there, and I peeked in, kind of quiet because I was late, like 10, 15 minutes late. I peeked in and opened the door, and he saw me stick my head in, and he called me in, and he had me come up in front and had me hit on the drum. And he said I was a part of the awakening of the Native American spirit. And so after that, I went to start school, and all the students were rallying around this support Native American social, political rights and cultural support kind of thing. They were all rallying. They wanted to do something. A student organization was kind of non-functioning, the Native American student organization. And so they appointed me to be the head. They said, he's the guy. And all of a sudden, I was now coordinating with the Native American political activists and cultural things, and we began to do fundraising and bring in speakers and raise money for events like that. So that began to get me on my path of the Native American part of my path. But it was mostly political, social. I hadn't gone into the spiritual part of it. And I went over to Berkeley, California to hear, he was a famous medicine man. I had read a book about him. His name was Rolling Thunder. He was an elder, a very strong, powerful man. And he gave a talk at one of these bookstores in Berkeley. And he, after the talk, he said, you and you and you and you, come see me afterwards. And then he was inviting us to come and live with him and train with him in the Nevada desert. And he was talking about the Vision Quest, the Sweat Lodge, desert survival training, very strong, strict, harsh father, like strong, spiritual, very powerful father figure, which I always wanted. I wanted that. The week before, I had already decided I needed to leave California and go someplace where I could find myself spiritually. And my best friend at the time went to Maui. He'd been there for half a year. He invited me, come to Maui. I got it set up. You can come and stay. So here I had Maui, and then Rolling Thunder was inviting me to come. And I was like, I want that, but Maui. Strict father, hot desert survival, harsh training, Maui. He just looked, my mind did that. He looked at me and he said, you're not going to come, but later you will walk the red road. And after I went to Maui, I had my UFO encounter there, had mystical experiences there. I trained myself as an astrologer while I lived on Maui. And my last year and a half, I was there 6 years, I became a tour guide. And the tour guide training allowed me to begin to speak my truth. Because before I'd had very intense mystical experiences that I just didn't know how to express it. It was kind of almost traumatized me, some of the intensity of things I experienced. That I didn't know how to speak to people. And when I did, they didn't know how to hear me. So I had no way to express my communication. So my last couple of years in Maui, I got a job as a tour guide. And I, going on the training to be a tour guide there, I listened to the Hawaiian guys talk, and I just imitated their stories so that I could become like a guide. And being very metaphysical, talking astrology and metaphysical concepts, to be like just talking like a Hawaiian tour guide. So it was a good shape-shifting for me. And I learned to express myself, and I talked about some of the Hawaiian myth, and I met some kahunas there, and the demigod Maui, and how he laughs with the sun. So I think that was like the earth shifting on its axis when he pulled the sun. And anyways, coming to Sedona, I met somebody down by the park, down by the Cathedral Rock, by the creek, and he ran a tour company, and he had a sacred earth tour. And a woman that had channeled some material about the vortexes was talking, and he kept asking me what I thought about what she was saying. And I said, like, it's good. I mean, it was good, but I was not as impressed as who she was or whatever she was about. But he invited me to come work for him, and so I started doing this work, and I started being on the land sacred earth tour, talking about the Mother Earth, and I'd already had 10 years of a lot of it, research and study and mystical experiences. So I had a chance to finally speak metaphysical, and I became like a sensation. Everybody just like loved my work, and in the meantime, I had some encounters with the spirit here. The ancient Indian spirit power came to me in the mountains. They came to me as in the clouds. They came to me very, very powerful. I believe they are emanations of the Earth Mother's soul. They had red rock faces, very, very powerful. They blew me away with some experiences, both in the dream level and in the waking state. I found myself going back and forth between, even driving on the highway, having a vision where they came in front of my car, and then me bilocating back into a dream down the highway. I was bilocating like that. So I had a number of really powerful experiences. And then in my dreams, Indian people, Indian men came to me. They weren't the spirit powers, they were human beings, and they were very intense, very they were very passionate about what they were wanting to get across to me. They didn't speak to me. I don't speak native language. I do sing some songs in different languages, but and pray like that, but I don't converse. And they did tell me, without speaking to me, they told me they wanted me to do the songs, they wanted me to do the ceremonies, they wanted me to do it right. They wanted to be right. They didn't say that, but they put that on me with an urgency. They were very urgent because Sedona was becoming discovered, and people were coming and coming to the power places, to the sacred places, etc. People didn't know how to be there. Didn't know how to be with the land. Something that comes natural to people usually. But if you're going like, what is it? It's the vortex, and we don't know what this is, and just ungrounded and didn't know how to connect. So in my tour work, I realized that they wanted me to begin to bring that Native American wisdom. And I said to them, I didn't grow up with all that. So I said, if you want me to do that, you have to teach me that, or you have to give me that, or somebody's got to give me that, because I'm not going to just put myself out there without teaching. And then just being here, different elders start coming, holding SWAT lodges, doing teaching, and I began to go and sit with them and hear what they had to say and see their example, what they were doing. The intent of a lodge can vary, and there's different gatherings that you would have, like community gatherings, or gatherings for special occasions, weddings, before a wedding, or birth of a baby, or going out on a vision quest on the mountain, or just wanting to have an ongoing every week type of a prayer. It's like taking a hot shower. You cleanse, and I think back in the day they didn't have running water, hot water. So you'd have a fire, you heat the rocks and carry them in and pour water, and you have a steam bath. So that's been a very popular tradition for Native people, and even along Norway and the Arctic Circle, the people there were the Finns that had the saunas, and so there always has been this thing about doing steam cleansing. I even had people from Finland. One of my friends had gone there to work and wanted me to come and teach them how to do ceremony because they had lost the ceremonial part of their sweat. So there's various reasons, and I started back in the early 90s doing sweat lodges. I started leading my own lodges, and somebody had some land. I'd give me permission to build a lodge on, and cut some tree saplings and weave them into a dome, and have the fire and do a very traditional lodge. And a lot of that was inspired by some of the Lakota elders that came through. I have some Lakota friends that I learned some songs with. I consider myself a Toltec. A Toltec is a modern day awakening of the wisdom teachers out of Mexico, because the Toltec wisdom was conquered by the Aztec back in about 1,000 years ago, or a little longer ago. So that Toltec wisdom got scattered. So there's always been the struggle between the light and the dark, between military and power versus the love and the living in harmony. So I was saying that I'm a Toltec. It comes out of Mexico. My elders always have told me that the wisdom's already within me, that I've already been that which I was seeking to become. I already am that. So I just began to listen to my own inner guidance, and my prayer was that my work would be my teacher. And in the work I was doing on the land, and work with people, and the soul of the Native American wisdom that was wanting me to express it. So I began to cultivate a teaching style and incorporating ceremony. I began to be building the medicine wheels. There were some private properties here that were sacred sites that I was a keeper of medicine wheels and sweat lodge. I built a lot of sweat lodges around the area, and I learned songs, and I learned from many traditions. So I don't adhere to just one tradition. I draw from the wisdom of all traditions, because in this new time we are to bridge the wisdom and come to the oneness behind it. So that's my strength, is that I have such a diversity of perspectives I can integrate very easily, and whether it's Buddhist teachings or Christian mysticism or native or quantum physics, or I'm as an astrologer, and the philosophies out of India or China, Taoism, etc. So all those kind of things, depth psychology, they are part of my healing style, my healing practice, and my work. And so with the sweat lodge back here, I built this lodge probably, I started building lodges here maybe 2003, I think. 2003, 2004. And at that time we were in the middle of a 12-year drought. And with the drought conditions, you can see already we're still having fires across the west. So this has been going on for a good 15, 20 years. These fires have been happening. So we are in this the sun seems to be getting hotter. When I was a little boy, the sun was yellow, and now it's white. So within the short lifespan, we've seen the sun becoming more hot. And it seems like that may be happening with the global warming thing, that the sun may be putting in, changes happening within our planetary and solar system is causing this quickening time we're in now. Mm-hmm. We call this the time of purification. Mm-hmm. When we're in the sweat lodge, we're doing purification with the fire, the rock people, the earth, the air that we breathe in, and the water, the four elements. So on the Earth Mother, the four elements are doing a purification. We're having fires, we're having extreme winds, we're having flooding, we're having volcano and earthquakes. So we're having the four elements is a sweat lodge in the everyday world happening. And so when we go into the lodge, we are going there to bring it in a blessing way. The lodge I built has been the best thing I've done. Maybe some people could be critical of it because it's not traditional, but I'm modern, so I'm a modern person. I'm a modern Toltec, and I do what works.
Yeah.
That on the maps of the magnetic field of the Earth, Sedona is just a really strong magnetic field. Now, we have a North Pole and a South Pole. The North Pole is a positive pole, the South Pole is a negative pole. But there's also an East Pole and a West Pole. The East Pole is the plateau of Tibet, the world's largest plateau. It's the highest elevation. So that's the dominant pole. It's the East Pole, that's the male pole. The West Pole, the female pole, is the Colorado Plateau. We're right below the Colorado Plateau, which includes the Grand Canyon and the Four Corners states, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, Utah. Over in Himalayas, Tibetan Plateau, there are the four sacred mountains. And the Tibetan people, they go to their shrines in the mountain. They'll get down and prostrate like an inchworm, and they will, for a mile or more miles, they will prostrate all the way to the shrines. Because they're humbling themselves and they're becoming connected with the mother by crawling on her and honoring that it's all this bigger, part of this greater oneness, are honoring this aspect of the Great Spirit. So they have the four sacred mountains. Over here on the Colorado Plateau, we have our four sacred mountains of the Native people. And in Arizona, right outside of Sedona, there's Flagstaff up on the plateau. And the tallest mountain of Arizona is the San Francisco Peak, so the volcano is one of the points of the four sacred mountains. San Francisco Peaks, Mount Taylor in New Mexico, Mount Blanca in Colorado, and Mount Hesperus on the Utah-Colorado border. So those are the four sacred mountains, male and female. Male is more of a transcendental perspective. I'm not the mind, I'm not the body, that's all an illusion. I am transcendent. They have their sacred cow. They don't eat it because it's spirit, it's transcendent. They don't eat it. Over here is the female side. It's about the body, it's about the mother, it's about what sustains us, the Mother Earth, the Native American philosophy. And they have the sacred buffalo, and they eat it as sacred. The same teachings, just a male and female aspect of them. They both have transcendental, they both have the sacred mother, but one is holding this polarity, the other is holding the other. So when the Tibetans came over, they realized there was a strong link from the past time, before the cataclysms happened and the migrations took place, that the people divided, that the Tibetans were Native American people. And if you've seen people in South America, they dress just like Tibetans, they look just like Tibetans. And they came up and said with the Hopi, they had so much similar stories in that it said that the Hopi word for sun is the Tibetan word for moon and vice versa, Dawa Ningma. So the Navajo do sand paintings and the Hopi do sand paintings. The Navajo came across from Alaska, came across that way and came down, and the Hopi came up from the south, came up this way. And it's been said by the elders that there was a continent in the Pacific today, it's called Lemuria, in Atlantis in the Atlantic. And before they sank, those peoples migrated, the people who were being guided by the Spirit, they migrated to safety, and some went to the Himalayas, some went to South America and built Machu Picchu. And because the earth was changing, the Americas had been partly underwater, were coming up. So all of the South America and North America all came up out of the water. So where Machu Picchu is now, it was much lower elevation at the time it was being built. I think it was about almost 13,000 years ago. I think that's when the Ice Age ended and abrupt shift took place. I think the Earth had an axis shift and the lands moved.
Think about the shift now. I mean, what is going on with the poles?
Well, you can feel something is coming. Everybody can feel it. That's why you have all the doomsday prophecies and people freaking out about the end of the world. You can feel it coming. And that urgency is like now driving, say in the United States, in the progressive movement, they want to do stop using fossil fuel because you're adding to this global warming and throwing the things out of extreme. Due to research with the ice core in Antarctica, they see that this is a part of a natural cycle. And so this global warming, this weather extremes is a part of the prophecy time, and that our changing from fossil fuels is not going to make any difference. The message needs to change from global warming regarding fossil fuel to stop poisoning the water, the soil, the air, stop poisoning the environment. And so you can feel it coming that in the future the Earth is going to reset itself. It's going to shift on its axis, and the ocean's going to come back to Sedona. we're already going to be out of here. We're already going to have moved on to the next stage of our experience.
Talking about the 3D moving into the 4D and then
To the 5D.
5D.
But back in the 60s, a song called The Dawn of the Age of Aquarius, sung by a band called The Fifth Dimension. The Fifth Dimension is where we're going. So if we divide the body down the middle, our right hand is how we master the everyday world. This is the third dimension. Our rational mind, our ego's invested here, our male side of our consciousness, our active side of our consciousness. But when the sun goes down, we fall asleep, we go unconsciously connect to the soul. And this is our female side. And then we begin to dream. This is our second attention. So the male and the female, they both have truth. But in any marriage, any relationship, there can be disagreements and misunderstandings of these two. So the sacred marriage brings these two together into the third attention. The third attention connects us with the higher mind. That's the fifth dimension. So the dream level is the 4D, the rational world is the 3D, and the higher mind is the 5D. So we're going to go into the 5D and come into enlightened consciousness. I believe that the prophecies from around the world spoke of a time of the light frequency coming into the planet, a wave of radiance coming through our sun or coming from the galactic center, pulsing through our sun. And if this wave is going to come upon the planet, it's going to shift everything in a twinkle of an eye. It's like it just happens like that. And when it's going to happen, people have been predicting for a long time and always wrong, but we know we're getting close to it now. And because the star people had told me this, I feel it's in my lifetime, but I could be wrong. But we believe I've been studying prophecy for 40 years, from many traditions, and it looks very much like between 2020 and 2030, maybe 2025 will be the shift. And I believe the wave is going to come upon the planet and shift us into the fourth dimension. And the people who've got bad karma are off the planet, and everybody else, it kind of cleanses them. So now they can start like fresh and begin to learn how to use their mind correctly and human relations correctly. And the people who are already spiritually growing and developing and understanding the true nature will step into direct enlightenment and help to guide other people to understand wisdom teaching and live in harmony. So I believe that that'll be a period of time of adjusting, and then those who will graduate and go over the Rainbow Bridge into the fifth dimension will go into the new earth. There has actually been people been hypnotized and taken into the future, and different researchers have done that and looked at what are they seeing, and a lot of them describe the energy coming in, and their bodies are tingling, and they got to go lay down. They can't really assimilate it, and take them a day or two just to be able to get back up and function again. And I make a joke about that movie, The Sixth Sense, with Bruce Willis and Haley Joel Osment. And Bruce Willis goes to see this young boy to see what's he going through and how can he help him. He's like a social worker. And the little boy tells him, "I see dead people, but they don't know they're dead." And Bruce Willis is going on about his business, and he's trying to talk to his wife. He's trying to deal with things, and people are not hearing him. He's not getting through. And all of a sudden it dawns on him that, oh my God, I'm dead. He goes back and sees himself being how he dies and how he's been trying to communicate in this world, but he's not really in this 3D anymore. He's in the 4D. So the 4D, I think that wave is going to come. It's going to push us right into the 4D. We're not going to know it. It's just going to be seamlessly. And people have asked me, do I believe in hell? And I say, yes, I do. And they say, well, that's not real. That's just an illusion. I said, have you ever had a nightmare? When you're in a nightmare, that's hell. You know it's not real, but when you're in it, it feels real. So the Toltec, Maya people in Toltec, they speak of 13 heavens and 9 hells. So to go into a hell realm would be like a place of guilt or shame or judgment or not good enough, or where you're suffering in this lower mind illusion. And maybe when this shift takes place, the people who have got good karma move into the higher level, the fourth dimension, which is where you're living in your fantasy now. Everything's no more rent, and everybody can live free, and you don't have to go to the store no more. Everybody can create. Now we're at the right shape and size, and we look good, and we're dreaming now, learning how to dream consciously. And the people who've been living in a bad way, they're going into the zombie apocalypse, and have to face their karma there, all in the fourth dimension. And as the people begin to realize what the truth is, and those who now said that we've laid down the teaching, you're putting it together, now we're going to move on into the fifth dimension. And then everybody will be, time is relative. I mean, a moment of time is like eternity in alternate reality.
Now, let's listen to what Earth Spirit has to say to humanity.
Please keep singing the lullaby. I am the gray. I come to bring the knowledge of the old wise ones that protects the earth. We hear your voices. We acknowledge the pain. We understand the importance of being one with nature. Allow now yourselves to be guided by the earth spirits as you embrace the nature beings and allow them to be part of your life. The lullaby that you bring will bring peace to the nature beings who need now to understand that the human race have neglected the earth and the power that reside within. We ask you, my friends, to hear the pain of your mother and to open your hearts once again and to acknowledge that you are one. And as you are killing your mother, you are killing yourself. So be wise. Be wise in your choices as a human. Your life depends on it. Your brother and sister's life depend on it. You are called upon. I bless you. I bless the water. I bless the wind. I bless the earth. And I bless the fire that you reside within. Bring peace, my friends. Peace within your hearts. And peace between all. Farewell.
Thank you so much for joining me and allowing me to share my soul purpose with you. I hope you enjoyed listening to Spiritual Quest with me, your host, Vibeke Garnos, and if you did, I would be grateful if you would share it with the world. Thank you for listening. Sending you love and light from me, your host, Vibeke Garnos, always guided by spirit.